Trinadapi sunichena tarariva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Kevalam Kalau nastyeva 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 gatiranyata. We have begun the 4-month period known as Chaturmasya, beginning with the full moon of the month, which is known as Guru Purnima. On this day, devotees give respect, worship, veneration to Srila Vyasadeva, who is the compiler of the storehouse of Vedic knowledge. Originally, the knowledge was received by the Creator, Lord Brahma. He received this knowledge directly from God, Narayana. And after receiving the essence of all knowledge, known as Chatushloki, the 4 seed verses of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma passed this down to his prominent disciple Narada. Narada instructed then the great Vyasadeva. But it was Vyasadeva who put this Vedic knowledge into recorded history. Previously, it was an oral tradition. But in the advent of this age of Kali, wisely Vyasadeva realized that the age of Kali, the people would be slow, would be too materialistic, would be an inauspicious age. People would be easily cheated, and people's minds in Kali Yuga are easily disturbed, and they're very, very unfortunate. So Vyasadeva, out of compassion, took the Vedic knowledge and compiled, edited, and put it to writing with the help of his disciples. So the 4 Vedas, 108 Upanishads, 18 Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, Mahabharata. This compendium of work is millions of Sanskrit shlokas. And we owe this all to Bhagavan Rishi, God appearing in the form of a saintly personality, Sri Vyasadeva. And on this day, we honor him. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatir anyata. In this age of Kali, the chief religious performance, the bona fide method of self-realization, God realization, is simply to chant God's holy name. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti. And God has millions and millions of names, not only in the Sanskrit language, but throughout all the languages we find. There is a name of God. Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Yahweh, Christ. Every culture has its name for God, the nomenclature. And whatever name of God you recognize, then if you simply hear and chant the holy name of God, you will be delivered. Of course, I am a Krishna salesman, and therefore I recommend, as the chief product, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There it is. Everybody say along with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Good. I can see by the response, I have you. That's good. Very good. Before I go further, I would like to honor you by recognizing that Krishna is in each and every one of your hearts. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. My name is Nirantara Dasa. I am an initiated disciple of the founder Acharya of this movement, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He accepted me as his disciple on April 15th, 1974. And he gave me this name, Nirantara Das, servant of God. God is Nirantara, without end, without cessation, constant, no gaps. Last week, I was in a different temple, Los Angeles temple, and I began a new series of lectures. In 1960, before Srila Prabhupada came to America, 65, but in 1960, Srila Prabhupada translated and commentated on one of the 108 Upanishads called the Ishopanishad. In the Bhagavad Gita, very early in chapter 2, Krishna tells Arjuna, Nishtray Gunyo Bhavarjuna. My dear Arjuna, the Vedas are mostly dealing with the material world, the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. My dear Arjuna, you should transcend the Vedas. Go beyond this material world to the transcendence. Therefore, there is a name of God. Can you repeat? Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means that person who is beyond the range of the material senses to know. By material scientific process, you cannot see God, discover God. God is not discovered in the laboratory because he cannot be approached by any material means. The human being is subject to 4 inherent defects. First of all, human being has imperfect senses. With imperfect senses, it is not possible independently to come up with perfect knowledge. Because we have imperfect senses, to err is human. We make mistakes. And because we make mistakes, we tend to fall into illusion. I accept something as factual or true, and later on it turns out to be just the opposite. Illusion. Sometimes it happens. A man, a woman come together. Oh, I love you. But then after some time, they really can't stand each other. What happened to the love? And sometimes it's at great expense, great cost. There's so much illusion. We give our vote to somebody thinking, oh, he will save us. And then he turns out to be a complete idiot. So there's illusion. And then the last defect is cheating propensity. We see this in the business field. Two people come together for a business transaction, but then one tries to cheat the other. So these are the 4 defects of a human being. So this Vedic knowledge, transcendence, is something which comes down and is awarded. It's not something that you can independently investigate. It comes down by God. Therefore, ad hoc saja. So this Ishopanishad deals with transcendence, that which is beyond the range of material senses. So last week I spoke on the invocation. So tonight I will speak on mantra 1. There are 18 mantras and 1 invocation. Before I begin, please raise your hands and repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, just to help you and encourage you, I understand what it's like to be in your position. For the next 45 minutes, I will be speaking. You will be sitting, listening. And I'm sensitive that for you, it may be a bit of austerity. But there is benefit for you to sticking it out. Because we learn in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is in your heart. And right now he is seeing, oh, you are listening to my message. I am very pleased with you. And therefore I will bless you. So right now, because you have agreed to sit and listen, right now Krishna in your heart is blessing you. And what is that blessing? Removing impurities from your heart. So if you try to hear and patiently tolerate my many misgivings, you will be blessed more and more. And the ultimate reward will have a very nice feast to enjoy. Who likes prasadam? Jai. The only reason I joined this movement was prasadam. Let's see how your Sanskrit is. Last week in Los Angeles, the congregation was pretty good. So hopefully you'll do better. Please repeat. Ishavasya. Little weak there. Idam sarvang yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bunjita magridha kasyasvid dhanam. All right, pretty good. So now please repeat the translation. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for oneself, which are set aside as one's quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So the first line, everything animate or inanimate is controlled and owned by the Lord. What this infers is called spiritual communism. Atheistic communism dictates nobody owns anything. Everything is owned by the state. That was the philosophy of communist Russia and present-day China. There's no such thing as personal, everything belongs to the state. Atheistic communism. But this line is spiritual communism. Everything is owned by God. What is the philosophy behind it? The philosophy is, we didn't create this. We didn't even create our own body. The body was given to us. We came into a world that was already created by God. The material energy is manifested from God. It is His energy. Just like if I go to your house, I can't come into your house saying, oh, I like that, I think I'll take that. You'll kick me. What is this guy? I come to your house and start taking all your things? No. That's your property. You have earned it. It's yours. I cannot claim that it's mine. So in the same way, a person who has transcendental vision understands, what is mine? Nothing. Everything is the property of God. A person takes a walk, goes by a rose garden, and sees all this beautiful rose. Either they smell it, or else they take it and bring it to their loved one. I brought you this nice rose. But a transcendentalist sees the rose garden and says, ah, this was painted by the supreme artist, Krishna. Let me take this rose and offer it to God. So the transcendentalist, wherever the transcendentalist walks or goes, whatever the transcendentalist sees, he sees that everything comes and belongs to God. Even the wife or the husband, it's not my property. This wife or children, they are gifts from God. I have to do service to them accordingly. My position as a husband is not to exploit my wife or children. That's not my job. They don't belong to me. I may be their caretaker, but actually, I am their servant. My wife, my children, they belong to God. I have a duty. I have a responsibility to serve them with that understanding that they belong to God. I may have equipment. I may have so many material things. But yes, even that still, I may have earned it, fine. But even still, it's not mine. These are gifts from God to be used according to His desire. So this concept, everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. Spiritual communism. We are all children of God. And therefore, if everything is the property of God, we have this conception in all religions, God is the Father. If God is the Father, then we must be the children. And therefore, I shouldn't fight with you. You shouldn't fight with me, because we all belong to the family of God. And a spiritual person sees not only his own family, but sees everyone as their family. Therefore, sometimes questions come up. So the transcendentalist sees everyone belongs to the family of God. I have a responsibility of service to everyone. This is how we overcome the exploitive mentality, which is so prevalent in modern society. No, we're all children of God. I'm here to serve you. I may not be here to serve you the way you think you should be served, but I'm here to serve you the way God wants me to serve you. So everything is controlled and owned by the Lord. This is point number one. Then number two, one should therefore accept only those things necessary. This also is transcendental consciousness. Prabhupada used to have an expression: simple living, high thinking. Modern man is just the opposite. Simple thinking, high living. That's one of the major problems of the world. People want to live high life, but they want to think very, very simple, animalistic. No, a transcendentalist thinks on a higher platform and lives very simply. I was talking about Vyasadeva, who compiled all the Vedic library. He's an incarnation of God. Yet, he lives very simply in a little hut on the bank of a river to this day. Of course, you cannot see him because he's high up in the Himalayas. He also has a transcendental body. You could not approach where Vyasadeva is. It's not possible. You'd have to be on his platform of transcendence. So the transcendentalist understands, I simply need to keep body and soul together. Life is not meant for extravagant living. I need to eat, fine. I need to clothe myself, conveyance, whatever is necessary to live. You can live comfortably, but there's a difference between comfortable living and extravagant living. Simple living, you can be comfortable, but not overboard. So the transcendentalist accepts whatever is required, leaves the rest. As it says here, which are set aside as one's quota. Because of our past karma, each and every one of us has a different quota. So we don't see everybody on the same, materially, on the same platform. We see one person very, very wealthy. Yes, they earned that from their past lives. Now they are enjoying. We see other people living very, very poorly. That also is due to their past karma. I was asked this question today. Everything that's happening on the material plane is due to one's past karma, which is now being experienced. That explains why you have the body that you currently have. It explains your current living existential condition. Again, everyone has their own little world they're living in. Every one of us has their little world that they're dealing with. Why is that? Karma. What is karma? Past decisions and choices. Even in the present life, I'm creating my karma by my decisions, by my choices. You tonight made an excellent choice, an excellent decision. Here we are in Laguna Beach, one of the nicest places in America to go to, right? You could be doing so many things, but somehow or other, you decided to come here. Excellent choice. And as I said, right now, Krishna is blessing you because you made that choice. Others, they're not here. Who knows what they're doing? They may be engaging in very sinful activity. That's their choice. They made their bed, and in the future, they'll have to lie in that bed and suffer or enjoy the consequences. You, on the other hand, excellent. You are to be applauded because you made that good decision to come and hear the message of Godhead. Throughout my career as a preacher, wherever I go in the world, people come up, oh, please give me blessings. They don't understand. You're here, you're getting the blessings. When you chant the holy name of God, you're getting the full blessings. Always remember this. You can have all the blessings from God simply by chanting God's holy name. You can have it any time you want. It's always readily available. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. But as Lord Chaitanya says, Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanaraga. God has made himself so easily available, so readily available. What could be simpler? But I'm so unfortunate, I don't take advantage. I find so many excuses not to chant. I'd rather be on my cell phone. I'd rather be playing video game. I'd rather be going to the beach, getting a tan. But God is available and his blessings are available as soon as you have the name of God on your tongue. But I'm unfortunate. I don't take it, I waste my time. Then the last part of this verse. So, according to your karma, you are due so much material opulence and benefits in this life. You cannot increase, you cannot decrease. Whatever you are meant to get in this life on the material plane, you will get. There is that destiny. Everyone has their material destiny. Then the last line is, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Either they belong to somebody else, or in the ultimate sense, everything belongs to God. With transcendental vision, living by this verse of Ishopanishad, you can live a happy life with the philosophy of spiritual communism. You can be peaceful. My favorite story, over 20 years ago, I was in Panama. I was doing a program with a very wealthy Indian family. And they had some relatives coming from Hong Kong. So they were big, wealthy business people. And they lived on the top floor of this complex. They had the whole floor to themselves. So I was invited to do a program, chant, speak. So after the program, the lady who had come from Hong Kong, very, we have an expression, filthy rich. She said, Swamiji, I don't have any peace in my life. Can you give me peace? She thought I had a magic wand. Peace. So I asked the lady very nicely, I said, Mataji, do you eat meat? Oh, I love meat. I said, I can't give you peace. Then I said, okay, do you like to take liquor? I like very much. Oh, can't give you peace. Then I asked third time, do you gamble? She said, oh, yes, we like to play cards. I said, 3 strikes, you're out. I can't give you peace. Because you cannot have peace if you violate the laws of God, the laws of nature. Here in our movement, before you can be accepted as a disciple, you have to promise to give up 4 sinful activities, which are called the pillars of sinful life: animal slaughter, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life. So before you can enter a life of transcendence, these 4 pillars have to be knocked down. So therefore the disciple vows in front of Krishna, spiritual master, sacred fire, in front of the association of devotees, from now on, no more I will commit these activities. That gives one strength, and that gives one peace. There's where you get peace, when you give up sinful life. Now, I've explained the verse in my own words. Now I will read Prabhupada's purport to this verse. I beg you to try to hear. And if there is time, then we'll have some questions. So in Prabhupada's major books, Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, he translates the original Sanskrit, or in the case of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bengali. He gives you the definition of each word, and then he writes his Bhaktivedanta purport, which gives you his vision, his understanding of what should be taken from this verse. So Srila Prabhupada, we thank you. So try to hear Srila Prabhupada's words. Srila Prabhupada ki. Vedic knowledge is infallible because it comes down through the perfect disciplic succession of spiritual masters, beginning with the Lord himself. Since God spoke the first word of Vedic knowledge, the source of this knowledge is transcendental. The words spoken by God are called aparusheya, which indicates that they are not delivered by any mundane person. A living being who lives in the mundane world has 4 defects. Number 1, he or she is certain to commit mistakes, Brahma. Number 2, he or she is subject to illusion, Pramad. Number 3, he or she has a propensity to cheat others, Vipralipsa. And number 4, his or her senses are imperfect, Karana Apatava. No one with these 4 imperfections can deliver perfect knowledge. Thus, the Vedas are not produced by such an imperfect creature. So, this means the scriptures that we study in this movement, they are not man-made teachings. They're God-made. Sometimes, over the course of my career, I've been asked, when did your religion start? And the answer is no. It's always been in existence. Therefore, it's called Sanatan. It was always true in the past, it's true now, and it'll forever be true. It's eternal. It has no beginning, middle, or end. It's always there. Vedic knowledge was originally imparted by the Lord into the heart of the Creator, Brahma, the first created living being. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. And Brahma, in his turn, disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples, who have handed it down through history. Since the Lord is Purnam, all perfect, there is no possibility of his being subjected to the laws of material nature, which he controls. However, both the living entities and inanimate objects are controlled by the laws of nature and ultimately by the Lord's potency. This Ishopanishad is part of the Yajur Veda, and consequently it contains information concerning the proprietorship of all things existing within the universe. The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Para and Apara Prakriti are discussed. Bhumirapanalo vayu kang mano buddhir evacha ahankara iti yang me binna prakritir ashtadha apareyamitastvanyang prakriting vidime param jiva bhutang mahabaho yayedang daryate jagat. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, Apara Prakriti. Whereas the living being, the organic energy, is his superior energy, Para Prakriti. Both of these Prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately he is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the Para or the Apara Prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being. Because the Supreme Being, the absolute personality of Godhead, is the complete person, he has complete and perfect intelligence to adjust everything by means of his different potencies. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated, Ekadeshati Saks Jagner Jyotsna Vistarani Yata Parasya Brahmana Shaktis Tathedam Akilam Jagat. The Supreme Being is often compared to fire, and everything organic and inorganic is compared to the heat and light of that fire. Just as fire distributes energy in the form of heat and light, the Lord displays his energy in different ways. He thus remains the ultimate controller, sustainer, and dictator of everything. I could make a political comment, but I won't. But I find that word interesting. He is the possessor of all potencies, the knower of everything, and the benefactor of everyone. He is full of inconceivable opulence, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as one's quota. For instance, the cow gives milk, but she herself does not drink that milk. Instead, the cow eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus, we should be satisfied with those things He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong. Take, for example, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things. If we think in terms of Sri Ishopanishad, we must know that we ourselves cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be a proprietor of a thing just because he has worked hard to manufacture it. In modern society, there is always a great quarrel between the laborers and the capitalists. This quarrel has taken an international shape, and the world is in danger. Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Is that not what's going on right now? We are so close to, like Prabhupada said here, 1960, the world is in danger. I don't know if you've been following the news. We are this close to something catastrophic. We have two crazy people with their button hand on nuclear weapons, and we're one tweet away from a nuclear holocaust. I don't know about you, but I am praying sincerely every day, don't touch that button. I advise you to pray also. Either side. Keep your hands back away from the button. Step away from the button. Cool out. Chant Hare Krishna. Sri Ishopanishad cannot give advice to the cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to man through the bona fide acharyas and holy teachers. Thus, we honor Srila Prabhupada, our acharya and holy teacher. The human race should take the Vedic wisdom of Sri Ishopanishad and not quarrel over material possessions. One must be satisfied with whatever privileges are given to one by the mercy of the Lord. There can be no peace if the communist or capitalist or any other party claims proprietorship over the resources of nature, which are entirely the property of the Lord. The capitalists cannot curb the communists simply by political maneuvering, nor can the communists defeat the capitalists simply by fighting for stolen bread. If they do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the property they claim to be their own is simply stolen. Consequently, they will be liable to be punishment by the laws of nature. Now, this next line is exactly what I was talking about. This is 1960. Next sentence. Nuclear bombs are in the hands of both the communists and capitalists. And if both do not recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that these bombs will ultimately ruin both parties. Thus, in order to save themselves and bring peace to the world, both parties must follow the instructions of Sri Ishopanishad. So, I read this a couple of weeks ago and I said, wow, this is so current. This is where we're at right now in the world. Both in the hands, nuclear bombs, both in the communists and the capitalists. Pray. That's all we got. Pray like you never prayed before. Human beings are not meant to quarrel like cats and dogs. They must be intelligent enough to realize the importance and aim of human life. The Vedic literature is meant for humanity and not for cats and dogs. Cats and dogs can kill other animals for food without incurring sin. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste bud, he is responsible for breaking the laws of nature, and consequently, he must be punished. The standard of life for human beings cannot be applied to animals. The tiger does not eat rice and wheat or drink cow's milk because it has been given food in the shape of animal flesh. Among the many animals and birds, some are vegetarian, others are carnivorous, but none of them transgress the laws of nature, which have been ordained by the will of the Lord. Animals, birds, reptiles, and other lower life forms strictly adhere to the laws of nature. Therefore, there is no question of sin for them, nor are the Vedic instructions meant for them. It is human life alone which is a life of responsibility. It is wrong, however, to think that simply by becoming a vegetarian, or nowadays, vegan, one can avoid transgressing the laws of nature. Vegetables also have life. And while it is nature's law that one living being is meant to feed another, for human beings, the point is to recognize the Supreme Lord. Thus, one should not be proud of being a strict vegetarian. Animals do not have developed consciousness by which to recognize the Lord, but a human being is sufficiently intelligent to take lessons from the Vedic literature and thereby know how the laws of nature are working and derive profit out of such knowledge. If a man neglects the instructions of the Vedic literature, his life becomes very risky. A human being is therefore required to recognize the authority of the Supreme Lord and become his devotee. That you have done. If you weren't a devotee, you would not be here. The fact that you're here, you're a devotee. That's why in the beginning, I offered you my obeisance, because you're devotees. One must offer everything for the Lord's service and partake only of the remnants of food offered to the Lord. This will enable one to discharge one's proper duty properly. In the Bhagavad Gita, Patrang pushpam phalang toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadahang bhakyuparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. The Lord directly states that He accepts vegetarian food from the hands of a pure devotee. So this answers the question why we don't offer Krishna meat or fish or eggs. He don't like it. Krishna likes vegetarian food. He likes milk products, grains, fruits, nuts, vegetables, except onions and garlic. He doesn't accept. He's a person. He has tastes. If you invite someone to your house and you know they don't like certain things, then you make them eat it, you're not a very nice host. Generally, you make something to please the guest. So when we cook for Krishna, we cook according to His taste. One of my favorite passages is when Krishna is outlining Govardhan Puja. Krishna gives a nice list: samosa, rasgulla, pakoda, sandesh, no tacos. He gives a whole list of what He likes. Therefore, a human being should not only become a strict vegetarian, but should also become a devotee of the Lord, offer the Lord all of one's food, and then partake of such prasadam or the mercy of God. Only those who act in this way can properly discharge the duties of human life. Those who do not offer their food to the Lord eat nothing but sin and subject themselves to various types of distress, which are the results of sin. Yagyashistashana santo muchyante sarvakil bishai bunjate te twagang papa ye pachatyatma karanat. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience to the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Lord. In my years of preaching, depending on the audience, sometimes I'll say the laws of nature, because I know if I say the laws of God, they'll turn me off. But for me, the laws of nature, the laws of God are the same thing. But depending on the audience, I might tailor it. Disobeying the laws of nature or the order of the Lord brings ruin to a human being. Conversely, one who is sober, who knows the laws of nature, and who is not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion, is sure to be recognized by the Lord and thus become eligible to go back to Godhead, back to the eternal home. A phrase Prabhupada has used millions of times. We're going back to our original home. Our original home is the kingdom of God, a phrase he uses. So, how do we become eligible? We become sober, we know the laws of nature, and not influenced by unnecessary attachment or aversion. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra, please.